The economic models that exist of our economy indicate that about 60% of the growth in the post-war years can be accounted for by the in-migration of people and natural increase. And about 40% has been related to our expansion of our resource base and in part exports to other parts of the country. Now, if that 40% stabilizes or even declines, you're not going to have that to support even the population that you have now. If we become a depressed, perceived of as a depressed area, such as the Atlantic provinces were in the 1960s, you're not going to be a destination for people. And in fact, in 1976 and again in 1983, using children's allowance transfers as the measure, we've had absolute decline in our population. If you have absolute decline in your population, you're not going to buy stuff at the store, you're not going to travel, you're not going to do all these other things, and so you start to find the deaccelerating spiral. So the worst case scenario is that Vancouver can join St. John's and Sudbury and Winnipeg to some degree, which has basically only held its own in the post-war years, and partly, I guess, because of the largesse of Mr. Axworthy and others to see that there are federal transfer payments coming into it. If those aren't there, then I think that the second big trigger of our growth in migration will wither, and with that, our buoyancy and our optimism. And that is a real scenario. It's not one that is exaggerated. If we are not careful, it could happen.
And how do we avoid it then?
Well, I think we avoid it by recognizing that much of our growth is taking place now with the sale of services and experiences to business and to people in our region and the export of those around the world. We've got new high-tech industries that are some of our fastest growing employers. It seems to me they have to be nurtured and they have to be supported. I think that we have a lot of industries or activities which are selling knowledge. I'm looking at consulting firms and others. And that's an invisible sale. I think we've got to cultivate that and we've got to expand that. And we've got to attract people here that have got the wherewithal upstairs, if you like, to have a service that other people in other places can buy. We're very fortunate in the area of tourism. We are a destination of a world class for people that travel. We just have to look at downtown Vancouver in the summertime of people from all over the world. I believe we have to create more destinations for tourists so that they can come and stay, because that's an invisible export. If they go to a national park, or they go to Victoria, to Butchart Gardens, if they go to Whistler or wherever the thing might be, they leave dollars. They take home memories. They don't take home wood, or they don't take home trees, or they don't take home products of the mine. They take home memories, but they're prepared to pay for it. We can cultivate those, and those are important things for us to cultivate. I think that we can also look at the areas of import substitution, because one of the ways that cities grow is that you start to produce things locally rather than having them imported. And we have lots of examples in Vancouver where people are producing upscale goods and services. I mean, by upscales, they're usually a higher price, because it's very hard to compete in the mass markets with things that are produced in Taiwan or in Korea. But for things that are of a quality nature, they can be produced here. Exactly. And if we're lucky, we can sell them elsewhere.
Can you give me some examples of things in Vancouver?
Well, I think one of the interesting import substitutions in British Columbia was the wine industry. 10 years ago, nobody bought British Columbia wines. Everything was imported. Now, there's lots of them. I'm not sure what the percentage of the sales are, but there are lots. And they are selling them to other parts of Canada and abroad. That's an import substitution that has become a growth activity in our region. There are people that I've been reading recently of even people that have been doing handbags. A company in Vernon that recognizes that sports equipment for hiking, for outdoor activity, is something that is of great importance to British Columbia.